Hello everybody and welcome back after the Easter break. It seems odd me saying that because I'm actually recording this before we break up, and I've actually still got the tie I wore for the end of Autism Week when we had different colour days, and Friday was the rainbow day, so I've still got my tie on for that. Yeah, it's a bit strange saying I hope you had a good Easter when Easter hasn't even happened yet, but that's how these things work, I suppose. Yes, talking of the autism week we just had, the Autism Acceptance Week. I'm really proud of everybody involved in that. Big thanks to the staff and to all the students in the ASC Centre, and in fact everybody else in the school for making that such a successful event. It's really important that we understand about autism, not just in our school, but generally. And I'm really pleased that people in our school do understand, are fully aware, and do accept that autism is something which we shouldn't be worried about or anxious about, and our knowledge of it and our awareness of it is really, really important. Absolutely part of our community, 100%, and we're proud of that. So now the assembly topic for this week is empathy, and that fits in quite nicely with that introduction, because empathy means being able to understand how others feel, basically, not just being self-centered about yourself, but being able to understand how other people are. And not just being able to understand it, but behaving in a way which acknowledges that. Now, I think everyone probably knows this is my last term as head teacher of this school. It's been a great 14 years. I'm going to be sad to leave, but I am looking forward to retiring, I'll be honest with you. I've been over 35 years as a teacher. And I hope that in my 14 years here, and indeed my teaching career generally, as a teacher of French and Spanish, and as a assistant head teacher and a head of faculty, I've done most of the jobs that people have done in this school, as well as having been a pupil myself, and indeed a parent. So I do know what it's like, I think, and I'm hoping that during the time that I've worked in my career in schools, I've always been aware of how others feel. One of my favourite tweets is my advice to anyone who becomes a head teacher, or anyone who is in school leadership at all, and it's a comment which basically says you must never forget what it's like to learn in a classroom 5 hours a day, and you should never forget what it's like to teach in a classroom 5 hours a day, because as a school leader you don't do that. And I haven't sat in a classroom as a student for 5 hours a day for 40 years. But I do understand what it's like, and I understand what it's like to be 11, and I understand what it's like to be 15, and I understand what it's like to be a young teacher, and I understand what it's like to be a less young teacher, if you like. And when I make decisions that I've made in the school, and when we've set things how we want them to be, whether it was setting up the hub or whether it was after the COVID pandemic, the big part of the COVID pandemic had gone, I hope that with the people who I worked closely with, we always thought about the effect that our decisions would have on other people. Now, that's not just for leaders. All of us need to think about that, how our behaviours and how what we do affects on other people. And it doesn't matter whether you're 13 or 30, whether you're 16 or 60, it makes no difference. We all have to think carefully about how our behaviours, our actions, our words, everything we do, how that impacts on others. And if you can try and get in your head that you can have a positive impact on other people in that empathetic way, that understanding way, I don't think you can go far wrong. Now, there'll be times when you have to do things which some people might not like, and we've all done that. You couldn't get to you could never be even a human being, let alone a leader, without sometimes doing things that other people don't like. Partly because you might do them and make mistakes, partly because you might do them without realizing that you're having an effect on other people, but partly because sometimes you have to make a deliberate decision to do something which you know might not be easy for someone else to deal with or to live with, but you have to make that decision for the benefit of others or the benefit of a larger group. And on a small scale, that's everything you do in your life. Whether I choose to decide there's going to be money put into a certain area of the school, or I'm going to make a decision that I've got to exclude a pupil because of certain behaviour, or I've got to not exclude somebody or not punish somebody, or whatever it may be. Those decisions have a big impact, and you have to think about them, what that impact is. But through your daily life, whether you decide to bother to do the homework, whether you decide to, intervene if you witness somebody being nasty to somebody else. Those are all interactions which can show whether you're an empathetic person or not. Now, I've told you that, in my opinion, empathy is one of the key qualities that we need as human beings. And I hope that one of the things I can leave behind is that strong message to you to try to strive to be an empathetic person. It would be on my top 3 maybe lists. I'd like you, I think, to have integrity and honesty. That would be important. I'd like you to be ambitious and to push yourself forward as best you can in your lives moving forward. But I would also like you to be empathetic. And when you're dealing with other people, to feel for them and try to share their success. And when things don't go well, to understand that you can help them get through the difficult times. And it doesn't matter whether it's your brother, your sister, in future maybe your partner, your mother, your dad, all these things. If you think of other people, your friends, even, perhaps hardest of all, but most important of all, the people you don't like very much. Showing empathy to those people is tricky, but it's important. So just to finish with a quick reflection, I've talked about 3 qualities that I think are important. Empathy, which is the main topic for our assembly, but also integrity, which is honesty, being truthful to yourself and to other people, and ambition. Where do you develop these qualities, or these ideas from? Where did I get them from? Well, from my parents certainly, but also, I guess, from school. Now, I went to a school in England. It was a grammar school. We don't have grammar schools in Wales. And I'm glad we don't, because I don't agree with that anymore, the system of grammar schools, because in a grammar school, you have to pass a test when you're 11 years old, and that decides whether you can go to one of these grammar schools or not. And I was lucky enough that I did pass the test, and I did get in to the school. And a lot of people will think that grammar schools are quite old-fashioned and traditional, when they are, actually, or they can be, but mine wasn't, not at all. We did Latin. We had to study Latin, which is not commonly taught in many schools these days. I found that fascinating and interesting, to be honest with you. But in many other respects, the school was far from traditional. It was mixed, which a lot of schools weren't in those days. So it was boys and girls. And it was a school that rated things like creativity, modern languages, sport, arts, drama, music particularly, in this particular school. It rated those very, very highly. And it wasn't a school people think of traditional, old-fashioned grammar schools. Maybe they do, I don't know, but I think they do. And they think that they must have been very strict and very, old-fashioned, I guess is the word I'm after. But it wasn't. It wasn't at all. In fact, there was a very liberal view taken of lots of things. And I'm certain that some of the things that I've brought to my own life and my own school leadership came from that, because it helped me. It helped those in the school to become independent people. We weren't constantly told, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. There were obviously rules in the school, and the school was well run, and it was a an orderly school, but we weren't constantly given unnecessary rules. The uniform wasn't the sort of excessively strict uniform that you might expect in a school of that nature, and perhaps that's where I get my own views on that from. And we developed as individuals, and I think I have a lot to thank that school for. That was a long, long time ago, and lots of things have happened since then. Back in those days, we did Latin, I said that, but there was no IT on the timetable because there were no computers. They didn't exist, no mobile phones, no remote controls for TV, let alone mobile phones. You had to get up and turn the TV off, and there was only 3 channels then. So, a lot has changed. My early photographs are all black and white. I'm not going to share those with you, but that was how things were. A lot has changed since then. But those values that I learnt, and I hope I can share with you as the head of your school, are important to me, still are. Integrity, being ambitious, being independently ambitious, and being, as we've talked about for some time this morning, empathetic. Okay, well, it's not the last assembly I'll do. It probably won't be the last assembly. There's still some time to go, so I'll speak to you again, hopefully in R3 properly, fairly soon, and I'll see you around the school as always. So I'm looking forward to that over the next few weeks, and all the best for the summer term. Thanks for listening to the assembly, and I'll see you around the school. Thanks a lot.